baby growing up, you can't really talk and have sentences and read that until you learn your alphabet.
Right.
This is the same thing. If you're going to have a conversation with drums, you're going to have a conversation in drums, you're going to have to know your alphabet. You're going to have to know your rudiment. So, and if you're going to become a writer, you're going to have to understand these rudiments, understand the placement of these rudiments. The second thing that I think is very important when it comes to writing is you gotta have, let me make sure I got my notes. Let me go to my notes. I don't want to skip over nothing I want to say. My kids will tell y'all I forget what I write all the time. I have to go to my phone all the time. Okay. The next thing about once you got your rudiments and all that stuff, and you write it, you say, okay, I got an idea I want to teach. I'm ready to go show my line this idea. A lot of mistakes get made where the writer themselves, they write the stuff that they can play. They go and make this stuff up and then, oh yeah, this is dope. This is fire. And then you get to the drum line, this skill level is different from this skill level. This skill level is different from this skill level. This skill level is different. You got to make sure you are writing for the skills you are writing for. The people you are writing for, the skill level you're on, make sure the music you are sharing fits the skill level you are sharing it with. That's so important when writing these cadences. The next thing I wanted, let's see. All right, so for me, what I like to do is, if a person is writing a movie, they got hired to write a script for a movie, they gotta know what they're writing about. They can't just go and write a bunch of the words down and they don't even know what they're writing about. If you're gonna write a poem, you're gonna have to know what that poem is about, right? If you wanna know, so when you go to write these cadences, you don't want to go say, okay, I'm going to make up a cadence today. And you ain't got no idea what you want to talk about. You don't have no idea of what you want to write. My approach to that is, before I write a cadence, I always got an idea. I always have an idea, whether that idea comes from a drum groove I might have heard somebody play on the drum set, or that idea might come from, for me personally, most of my ideas, I got a bass player down there. I can't play bass, but I got one down inside of me that wish you wanted to come out. Most of my ideas come from lines I hear bass players play, or if somebody play a bass or a bass line in a song. I personally draw from that because of the melodic content, the melodic sound from the bass. So all I'm saying is have an idea, have something you want to talk about before you start to even write anything. Like I said, that idea can come from a drum set group. That idea can come from a bass group. That idea can come from, I got an idea one time I was walking down the street in New Orleans and they were doing some work, some construction work. And it kept going. And I was like, okay, I hear that. I went back and I put, and I took that groove and I built it. So that's what I mean by have an idea that you can build around and watch how far you go, when you have a plan. Have a plan. All right. So, they laughing already. All right. Another thing that I like to do in my approach, and this is a big one, y'all should try it. Every cadence that they play, every cadence that I've written for them, it has it's fusion. I fuse what we do as a drum line with rudimental play, and I fuse that with stylistic music. I fuse that with, you would say, a rock song, or a Latin song, or a trap song, or a rock song. I take the drumline sound, and then I take this genre of music, and I say, okay, this is drumline meets heavy metal. All right? So that's another way that you grab ideas and now you can speak. Your music can tell a story. That's a big thing about writing also. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but when you're writing, you don't want just a bunch of noise happening, just a bunch of rudiments, just a bunch of stuff going. You want to tell a story. I play drum set. And the first thing I learned about taking a solo on the drums, I was young, I used to get on the drums, and I would show you everything I got as soon as I started playing. And I had to learn that, no, you got to start here, tell the story, build that story up, and then to let it go. So I try to do that same thing when I'm writing drumline material. I don't want it to just be a loud bunch of grooves. I want the beats to tell a story. So I'm gonna stop talking for a second and let them play the first piece. This first piece is called Checkmate. This one is a fuse between drumline, heavy metal. Drumline, heavy metal. There's a quick story because they're in the building right now. I'm gonna tell this quick story about this cadence. I have a son, and he was going to march. He was going to try to come over, and this was back in 2016, 2017. He was going to come and march with Palm Beach Legs, and I was so excited. I was like, yeah, a real drumline. He could come and march with a real drumline. I was so excited. So we came and practiced with him for a little while, and I was like, and I stood out, and I watched him practice, and I got hyped. I said, I'm going to go home and write a cadence for these boys. I got to go write one for them. And this cadence was the cadence I wrote, and it's going to fuse what we do as a drum line with rudimental play and heavy metal. So at the end of this cadence, you're gonna hear what a heavy metal drummer would play at the double pedal. That heavy metal sound, you're gonna hear that fused into this cadence. We call this one Checkmate. Just heard, now we talk about writing. The format of that cadence, you heard an introduction, very short, one bar introduction. That was your introduction, one bar introduction. I like to think that I write in like song mode, kind of. You got an introduction, and then you heard the first verse, which was that 4-bar phrase that they repeated. They had a 4-bar phrase on loop. So you had a 1-bar introduction, had a 4-bar phrase on the loop, and could y'all hear the heavy metal rock thing at the end? Could you hear it? Yes, sir. Yeah. So when you're writing, that particular cadence had a lot of loops in it. They had a lot of loops where they were looping the groove in 4-bar phrases. I like to write sometimes in those 4-bar phrases. I use those for cadences that we're going to play in the stands. If we're going to battle somebody or stand in a block or something like that, we probably wouldn't play that because it loops a lot of stuff. And it's like these phrases are looping, so that's kind of a fun thing that we'll play in the stands and play for the people, You want to have a dope introduction. That your introduction when you write it could be, that one was 1 bar long. You can have another introduction that could be 4 bars long, 5 bars long. You can go in and then I go into the groove that I want to play. It's a good one. Now, I talked about having something to write about and having an idea on what you want to do. This next cadence that they're going to play man, it's got to be one of my favorites. Like I said, I play drum set. I play a lot of Latin music. When you play drum set, you're going to play a lot of, if you're gigging, you're going to play a lot of Latin music. Over the years, I've taken different lessons and I've practiced from different Latin books and I've learned all these authentic Latin rhythms. And this next cadence, I took all those different Latin rhythms that I have experience with playing the drum set, and I did what I do. I took marching band drum set, fused it with Latin music. Now, when I say Latin music, in this cadence, we're gonna visit Afro-Cuban music, where they use a lot of 2-3 son clave. Everybody know what it is? Does everybody know what 2-3 son clave is? Nobody knows what that is. A 2-3 son clave sounds like this. Let me see sticks. You got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Speed that up. All right, that's your 2-3 son clave. You got the son clave going in this cadence. All right. Then we took what's popular in Miami, reggaeton. We took the reggae. Everybody know what reggaeton is? Everybody know what that is? You're gonna hear that a lot. That reggaeton beat goes like this. We took that from the Latin world. And then on top of that reggaeton, I went from Puerto Rico and I went to Brazil and I put a Brazilian samba on top of that reggaeton. So you're gonna hear okay, now you got reggaeton on top of Brazilian samba. So there's a whole lot of different Latin beats fused with drumline. In the bass drum solo of this cadence, there's a authentic tribal drum call that they play their bass drum solo over. I don't know the name of it. I just learned how to play it when I saw it. I got to learn the name of it so I can share it. But it's an authentic call that they use in Afro-Cuban music. You'll hear it. This next cadence we're gonna play, we call it Afro-Cuban. It's drumline meets a slew of Latin music. You got 2-3 clave, you got wah-wah-go, you got the tumbao, you got all these different authentic sounds that you're gonna hear. Please don't look at the movements they're doing. Please listen to the music they are playing in this cadence. as you can see, it's like I said, it's drumline chops. They're playing these solos and different things, but you can hear the genre of music we talking about. We playing drumline chops, but then there's a genre of music that we're representing with the chops and the drumline. So let me go back to building these cadences. So that cadence right there had an intro that was almost about 6 bars long. The first one we had a 1 bar intro. This one, it was about 6 bars. You got your intro, you got the verse, and then you can play your solos. The solos is where now you can chop out. You can play all the rudimental stuff you want to play and chop out. And then from that solo, now you got your outro, where you can, me and all of my outros, I like to represent the genre of music we playing. Everything we play, once we get to that out, it's always going to be representing the genre of music I'm trying to fuse drumline chops with. All right, good? Yeah. We good? Yeah. Good. All right. The first cadence they played Checkmate, that was the one I wrote the first year I came to the school. I taught them that cadence. That one you just heard, that was the second year, right? That was in 2022. This next cadence is a new one in our book this year. It's called Sweet Thunder. It's the same thing, man. It's drumline. This one is drumline meets fusion, jazz fusion. This is drumline. You remember when I told y'all I like to hear bass players play and I grab an idea and I build around it? In this cadence, you're going to hear this bass line. I heard that bass line in the song, and I was like, you know what? That's dope. I took that bass line, and I took my high-low sound that I have, and I mixed that high-low sound, took that bass line, and I put it in the tenor drums, and they play. You're going to hear that bass line represented. This one is going to be, we call it Sweet Thunder, and it's just drumline chops meets jazz fusion. All right? So there's another technique in writing that's very important, and it'll never fail you if you use this technique. If you want to be a writer and you use this technique, it'll never fail you. When you listen to these cadences, all these cadences they're playing, you hear it throughout. It's called call and response. Does everybody know what call and response is? If you listen to the music they're playing, it's just tons and tons of call and response done in a different type of manner. That using call and response helps to create conversation from the tenor drums to the quints, from the snares to the bass drums. You hear all this conversation. Can y'all hear the conversation they have? Y'all can hear it? Yeah. I bring up call and response because the next cadence we're going to play, I built this cadence off of call and response. It was my idea. I was like, okay, that technique, call and response, is big. This cadence is going to be built off just a bunch of just call and response, just a bunch of stuff bouncing all over the place, and you're going to hear these rhythms being played by each subsection. This is flow motion. We're gonna play. This cadence is called flow motion, and it's like I said, it's built on call and response. That's the technique. Use it. I'm telling you right now, become a savant at call and response. Be able to manipulate call and response. We got my man Mako back there. He's a rudiment. He can manipulate a rudiment like nobody I've ever seen. Take that technique, call and respond, and learn how to manipulate that thing in many ways as possible. And that's what I'm trying to do with this particular cadence. It's called flow motion. This one is all about call and response. Listen to the music, and you're going to hear stuff just bouncing all around off each other. There we go, flow motion. Can you hear it? You hear it? Hear it? Yeah. Call and response. That's a big one. So, what do we know so far? We know that you gotta have a strong hold on these rudiments to be able to write this stuff. You gotta have a strong hold on rudiments. My next thing for me is you gotta have an idea. You can't just go, I'm gonna make up a drum cadence today. That's not my way. I never do that. I never do that. I always have something I want to write about, something I want to talk about, some genre of music that I want to represent before I write this stuff. Let me ask y'all something. Can y'all hear the melody, the melodies that's being thrown around? I'm big on melodies. When you write these cadences, it's just not about a beat. You want to try to write, you got those of you who have tone bass drums, you want to try to find melodies for them to write to. Our secret, I shouldn't share this secret, but I will. It ain't a secret no more. Our secret to a lot of the melodies you hear and coming from here is we have tenor drums, but each one of those tenor drums are tuned at a different pitch. Each one of those tenor drums are tuned at a different pitch, and they can center run from the tenor drums all the way to the back of the bass drum. They can play that bit. You don't really hear that melodies like that from a lot of people because, first of all, their instrumentation is different. Not that they can't do it. They can do it, but their instrumentation. Our instrumentation allows us to share a lot of different melodies from the tenor drums to the bass drums to the quints. So listen to melodies. I've written cadences off of song hooks that I've heard the hook, they sang the hook, oh, I like that. I take the rhythm of the hook, the melody, and then I move it around the drums. You know? So, rudiments, ideas, what you want to write about. Listen to all these different genres of music. Don't just be right here listening to trap music and rap music. Listen to all these different, if you're going to be a writer, I'm saying, listen to all these different kinds of music. When we play these cadences, you hear so many different genres of music being represented in these cadences. I'm talking to my writers now. Listen to this music. Listen to these melodies. You know, I think I covered all my bases. I ain't going to share all my secrets with y'all now. But we good? 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 Y'all hype? So we got some writers ready to go write something now?
Yes, sir.
Amen?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Good. Let me see something. All right, we're gonna play one more. We're gonna play one more for y'all. The funny thing about this cadence is, I wrote this cadence in 1998. Some of y'all wasn't even born. Most of y'all wasn't born. I wrote this cadence in 1998, and here's the deal. The reason why I say that is, if you use these techniques that I've shared with you, music don't ever get old. Music don't ever get old. If you're using these techniques, call and response, these melodies, you're using bass lines, it never gets old. Here's the cadence. I call it 33493. That's the zip code where I live out in Belle Glade, Florida. But they laughed at it, so they just call it, they don't call it the number, they just call it zip code. Here we go. We're going to play one more. It's called zip code. Nice, zip code. So the last thing I want to say, and this is, like I said, this is all about writing, this is all about coming up with these cadences. There is one important thing that all of you gotta know and you gotta remember when you're gonna be writing this stuff. It ain't gotta be hard to play, it's just gotta sound good. It don't have to be hard. If you really paid attention to what they playing in that, especially that cadence right there, it ain't hard to play. It sound good, don't it? Remember that. You don't have to write difficult material. You just got to write material that sounds good. I want to leave you with that. Hey, I appreciate y'all having us. We good? All right. So, hey, I'm excited about hearing what all of you different sections are going to play tonight. I know the creativity is going to be on the level. I can't wait to hear it. And y'all go out there and do y'all thing. I appreciate y'all.
All right, come on, y'all give it up for Mr. Torres. Lovely. I appreciate their appreciation. Super important.